During a previous video, I made a list of, well, bosses in the game Undertale that I felt were not very good. And a lot of people were very mad with that. They called me out for it. They said I was too unfair. They said I was too harsh. They said that a lot of my reasonings did not make sense and that I was just being, well, misinformed and overly hard on the characters and the bosses. And you know what? They were kind of right. In a lot of ways, I was judging the characters more than I was judging them as boss fights, and that's not really fair. It's not entirely fair for me to judge them more by how they behave on a moral level than how their boss fight came out. And I have to admit that even though I still think that a lot of the characters' behaviors, from Undine to Metaton to even Sans, even though I think their behavior is pretty scummy, a lot of the bosses and the fights are still fun, and not all of my criticisms still stand up. Quite a few do. For example, I still think Undine is being horrifically cruel towards a child. I still think Sans is incredibly lazy and that he should have intervened immediately after seeing Undine dying. I still think that Muffet is a rotten little girl, and I'm still very angry with Asgore for murdering 6 children and for pretty much, and the idea that the monsters somehow get a free pass because their situation is extreme. I didn't like that. But nevertheless, I was very unfair and I was too harsh. So to make up for that, I'm going to talk about my favorite bosses of Undertale. Now, I'm going to list them in order from technically the worst of the best to the best. And I want to make something clear. I was very, very tempted for my number 5 pick to give it to somebody else. But I thought long and hard about it, and I decided that because of the uniqueness of this boss fight and what it represents, I thought it was a good choice for the list. So, who did I decide on? That's right, the Mad Dummy. This guy challenges you to a fight, insisting that he's going to avenge the honor of his cousin because the things you said to his cousin who lived inside a dummy in the ruins. Evidently, they were so shocking, so terrible, so horrific. It spooked the guy right out of his dummy and mentally traumatized him for life. And so now, this guy is going to avenge his cousin, scare your soul right out of your body, and take it. Furthermore, he's going to use your soul to cross the barrier, and he's going to stand in a store window, and everything he wants will be his. Why do I put this on the best list? Because for starters, you can't fight him normally. Even if you attack his vessel with normal physical attacks, just like Napstablook, those don't work. You can use physical attacks all you want. It's not going to work. You can't flee. It's not going to work. You can't talk him down. That's not going to work. So the question is, how do you beat him? And that is where this comes into play, because very quickly you realize there is a way to beat him, using his attacks on himself. With this, you're able to basically turn his greatest weapon against himself, impale him upon his own sword. This kind of battle aptly fits into what Undertale tries to go for, in trying to make you think outside the box and look for alternative methods of beating enemies that don't just involve simply whacking them over the head. Because you have to be creative. You have to be clever. You can't just... You're not always going to think up the answer. And I think this works much better because, unlike with Undine, you can't run away. You have to face him head on, but you have to beat him in a way that isn't normal. You can't act, you can't fight, you have to dodge as best you can. so it works well. Now, why is it lower on the list? Well, his motivations still suck. I mean, he insists he's doing this to avenge his cousin, but really, he's just being selfish. He just wants to live in the human world and have a nice fancy job as a dummy in the window of a clothing store. That's pretty selfish behavior, and it's pretty mean-spirited to be so cruel towards an innocent child. But I also put this on the list because the boss fight is, well, very funny. Mad Dummy's dialogue is positively hilarious, especially the fact that you keep foiling all his plans, and he starts becoming more and more insane as the battle goes on. And best of all, who gets you out of it? Another ghost, Napstablook, who is positively adorable, and I love him every time he's on screen. So, this number 5 is kind of debatable, but I hope you see now why I chose to include it on the list. It has a lot of positives going for it, and it really hammers in the type of fighting style Undertale would like to reward you for. Plus, it also makes you ask a simple question. What exactly is it that you said to the dummy at the beginning of the game that was just so shocking? What on earth could have been so terrible that it literally spooked a ghost out of a dummy? I guess we'll never know. And now it's time for an old familiar face. Metaton. I had previously said I didn't like him in my last list because I felt he was selfish, that he wasn't really doing this to protect humanity, he was doing this for his own self-interest, and he didn't care about Alphys nearly as much as he should. He was just being a selfish, stuck-up jerk. But there is a boss fight with him where he redeems himself. It's super easy, super short, and yet super dramatic. Throughout the genocide route, Metaton has been popping in every now and then, bringing up how Alphys is running around trying to save everybody in the underground, and Metaton is one of the last lines of defense. He has anti-human features that have been installed in him, and he's going to take you down. He's going to use all his power to defeat you. Only he doesn't defeat you. In fact, you could pretty much kill him in one blow. But the thing is, you can either be vicious about it and hit him right on, or you can whiff and barely scratch him. Either way, he dies, but if you chose the more merciful route, if you didn't kill like any other monsters in the Hotlands, and you whiffed your attack against Metaton, you get some very interesting dialogue, on top of, well, a very nice music, by the way. Plus, I love his design here. It's really, really good. I kind of wish we'd gotten like a sort of real boss fight, but the thing is, it's still technically a boss fight. And here is another reason why I included it on the list. In this, Metaton is not being selfish. He's actually doing the right thing. He's being decent. He's being noble. He's sticking up for the people that he loves, and for the world that he loves, and for the races that he loves. He's redeeming himself. Here, he's dying for a good cause. And even as he's dying, he can tell from how you whiff that you're holding back, that you're not completely evil, that you're not a completely rotten person, and that it's not too late for you. Plus, it gives you one of the more interesting endings in which Alphys has to take over the underground. And frankly, it's one of my favorite endings, even though it's pretty damn dark. Metaton, why did it take me having to actually kill you to start liking you? But when you're talking about the best bosses of Undertale, you definitely have to include Torial. How was I going to approach it? Honestly, both her and the next choice were kind of interchangeable, but here's why Torial definitely deserves to be on the list. You could beat her normally, beating the crap out of her. If you went the genocide route, you kill her in a single shot, and it turns positively horrifying. You can betray her and kill her, attacking her as she's opening up her heart and admitting that she'll let you out. And that's even an even more shocking way to fight her, a more shocking way to kill her. It gives you some great dialogue. It's really gripping and terrifying and very, honestly, disgusting to me, at least on a personal level. But the normal way, you can't talk her down. Fleeing will just make you go back upstairs and you'll have to do the fight all over again. And so the question is, can you show mercy without fighting or running away? And the answer is yes, you can. In this fight, you're shown that what you have to do is survive. You have to dodge. You have to persevere. And you have to keep showing mercy no matter how hard it might be. Because it's the moral thing to do. Because it's the right thing to do. And also, Torial is, for the most part, one of the most moral characters in the game. Yes, she does deserve a bit of flack, because she should have stayed with Asgore, should have told him not to go through with the whole killing human children thing. But she, at the very least, even though she should have destroyed the ruins door much sooner, she tries to do the right thing, and honestly doesn't want to hurt you, and doesn't want to hurt any of the children that came down. She's a sad, lonely old woman who needs just as much help and love as you do. And so, because of all this, I felt I had to include it. She's so likable. She's likable, her boss fight is interesting, it gives you an idea of the type of tactics you need to use in the game, so not putting her on this list would have been a crime against her. And you know what else would have been a crime? Not including this boss fight. That's right. I'd said before I didn't like Undine in her normal boss fight, but here, it's much different, because here, she redeems herself. Here, she dies trying to save the life of a child who literally cannot fight you because they have no arms. You know, seriously, if the only reason I went through with this was to get footage, if you were seriously the kind of person who went on the genocide route and you were facing down Monster Kid, a child who has no arms, and your first idea is to attack them, what the hell is wrong with you? That's as bad as killing Papyrus. Maybe even more so. Because yeah, Papyrus was offering you a hug of friendship. He was completely sparing you and trying to be nice, but this is a child! And you're trying to kill them. If you don't even feel the least bit guilty or hesitate at all, you know, you learn a lot about people from how they play video games. You really do. But back to this. This entire boss fight is so emotional. It's so heartbreaking. You can see she is sliced right down the middle, well, diagonally, the same way Sans later gets sliced. And she's already dying. She has died trying to protect the life of an innocent child. But even after all of that, she doesn't die. She will not let herself die. She is just so determined, so powerful, that she wills herself back to life. She can feel everybody's hearts beating as one. She realizes that you're not just a threat to monsters. You're a threat to humans and everybody in your way. That you'll just slaughter everyone unless someone stops you. Someone has to stand up to you. Someone has to show you that they have the power to stop you. And she has that power. That somebody is her. I almost feel like I should say something smart, but in a way there's not a lot I can add to all of this. It's got great animation, the writing is really well done, and Undine goes from a bully that's essentially mercilessly trying to murder a child even as they're begging and pleading for pity and mercy, to the type of true heroine that she always aspired to be. And unlike Sans, who just lazily sat around in the Judgment Hall, not doing anything, even when he should have killed you immediately after seeing Undine falling down, Undine actively got in your way. She dies trying to save a child, and then, well, she dies again, actually trying to stop you. She tries to stop you pretty darn early. Sans doesn't do that. And because of that, I give her more of a pass. This is her actually being noble. This is her actually being badass. This is well done. The fight is hard, it's difficult, it's challenging. You will die a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. I know I did. But because of all of that, and because of the fact that she's actually standing up for a good reason, and isn't just picking on a little kid who can barely fight back, because of that, this is one of the best boss fights in the game. It's well written, it's got great gameplay, it's hard and challenging, and it looks so beautifully designed. And the music! Oh my god, the music! Yes, Megalovania is incredibly good. It's my personal favorite song in the entire game. But this comes in a very, very close second. And you might have noticed that it's very similar to what Metaton Neo has. I think that's also because, in a way, they're both kind of calling upon their own inner determination. They're going all out, they're both warriors that the first time you meet them, they're kind of jerks. But the second time you meet them on the genocide route, they are redeemed as they try their best to save the people that they love. And so because of all that, I feel that Undine the Undying is one of the best, or rather the second best boss fight in Undertale. It is just that good. In fact, in a way, I'd almost recommend playing the Genocide route just so you can see what happens when you fight her, and also the incredibly tragic ending. In fact, let me play the ending for you. I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna let it play out. Take a look. Wow. Just wow. What boss fight could possibly top that? That's right, everybody's favorite Royal Guard in training, Papyrus. How I love this guy. Heck, even Flowey likes him. After all, how can you hate a guy that started the Flowey fan club? Papyrus is just so likable, so cheery, and so funny and kind that it's hard not to like him. And I'm not just putting him at the top of my list because I thought a lot of his dialogue was hilarious, and because he's so funny. Although, that is a good reason. He is pretty much the most moral character in the entire game. And I mean this sincerely. He's constantly holding back against you, He doesn't honestly want to hurt you. He certainly doesn't want to kill you, and he's completely fair in how he fights you. And even if he actually manages to get you down to 1 health, he doesn't actually finish you off. All he does is put you in the doghouse that they have, their garage, and he actually tries to leave some food and like a bed for you to relax in. So even when he beats you, he's trying to be nice about it. So really, how can anybody hate Papyrus? In addition, all through the fight, you can, of course, beat him through normal means by just punching the crap out of him, or the like. But for the most part, you're just supposed to dodge as best you can and try to avoid his attacks whilst you have a status ailment placed upon you. So all through that, it's trying to reinforce the idea that you can win fights. Yes, you could win it by fighting, but you could also win it by showing mercy and just persevering and being careful in how you fight. In just holding on longer than your opponent can. Plus, Papyrus's dialogue through all this is very funny, very, very funny, especially when he brings out the special attack! Or at least, when he tries to bring out the special attack. Because when he tries, yep, it's that darn annoying dog. This is one of the funniest parts in the game, where his big attack against you is just completely ruined, and he just uses a absolutely normal attack that is actually very well done and looks quite nice. I really like the animation that's going on in this fight, the same way I really liked the animation that was done for Undine the Undying's fight. I mean, look at this. It spells out cool dude. It has a bone on a skateboard with sunglasses writing on top of it. And then you have to leap high over a forest of bones. And a little tiny bone. A baby bone. So really, Papyrus's boss fight is just a lot of fun. He's a great guy. I like the animations and the dialogue that are used, and that music is very catching, especially the acapella one that's done by Nate Wants to Battle on YouTube. Look it up. What could possibly top this boss battle? Well, yes. The more I thought about it, the more I realized there was only one boss battle that could possibly be number 1. The fight against Azrael Dreamer. And it's not hard to see why. For starters, look at him. That is some badass dialogue. That is a badass design. And his reveal as to who he really was shocking. Most people did not see this coming. I certainly didn't when I first saw it. And also, if you look at his design, you can see he's wearing around his neck the heart locket. The same type of heart locket that he gave to Chara. And it's these little bits that you notice in his design. And the fact that as a child, of course he's going to shout out his attacks, and of course they're all over the top and overly colorful, and how he's the absolute god of hyper death. It's just the kind of overly dramatic, over-the-top ridiculous stuff that a kid who loves Saturday morning cartoons would be into. He's like an anime villain. Anime is real, and he's living it out for you. It'd be funny if it wasn't so kind of twisted at the same time. And throughout all of this, he reveals his ultimate plan. He's going to make you do everything over and over and over again, all so that the game will never end. So it's not just good writing, and it wasn't just shocking to learn Azrael's true form. In a meta context, it's also very well done. Because in essence, Frisk is you. You will continue on because you don't want to give up, because you want that happy ending, much the same way in the genocide route, you can't bring yourself to give up because you have to win. You have to get to the end of the game. And as all this is going on, it's a very difficult boss fight. It's not just colorful and vibrant, and the attacks aren't just unique and fascinating to watch, that with such great animations and amazing music. God, I love the soundtrack, and I love this boss fight. All of it is well animated, the fight animations are well done, it's hard and difficult, but not too difficult to dodge, and if you die, you're set back a little bit, but not too much, so that doesn't feel unreasonable. And then, of course, this part. Wow. Okay, you've gotten seriously creepy, Azrael. All this kind of stuff just serves to add to how unique the boss battle feels. Especially when you learn that this is just the first stage. He's not done yet. The second stage gets even more intense, and the fact that you go even further down the rabbit hole also helps to make this boss fight so dang good. Because behold, Azrael's second form. Now the music is intense. The atmosphere is so thick you could cut it with a knife. And you are royally screwed. You can't do anything. You are completely helpless, and he knows it. He's holding all the cards, he has all the power, and you can't really dodge. You are going to die. You are going to die several times over, and he knows it. And you know it too. So it's not just difficult, and it doesn't just advance the plot, and it's not just intense and beautifully animated and orchestrated. All of it is also, again, gripping. It's all so gripping. It's so well done. It's the perfect kind of final boss battle. And my god, look at his design. It's so alien and disturbing and creepy. But even then, it's not the end, because there's a third stage, because now it's time for you to save your friends' souls that are trapped inside of Azrael. And this means that you get to fight against your friends for a little while as you desperately try to get your soul to resonate with theirs. All the friendships that you've formed over the game, all of it has led to this. With a powerful emotional ending wrapped inside of the boss battle, with well done dialogue, with a callback to the earlier soundtrack and the boss fight, but now with a more hopeful edge to it. And best of all, there's also kind of revealing dialogue. Take a look at Sans' dialogue right here. Look very closely. Very, very closely. See that? The way it's shaking and quivering? You see that? It's not just all in lowercase. He's trembling. Inside, he has broken. They were so close to freedom, to true happiness, and he has completely snapped. He's given up. And you have to slap some sense back into it. That little touch, those kinds of little touches, I love it! I love it so much! And here, look at this next touch with Alphys. Look at what she's wearing. It's what she's wearing when you reached her, not what she was wearing when she goes to join the others. It's her when she realizes that she has worth and that she doesn't have to lie. You are reaching out to the core of her, to her at her best. Again, it's another small little touch, but it's little moments like that. They give you moments of closure and make all the effort that you put into this game all worthwhile. And then, of course, there's still one more person you have to save. The heartbreaking final part of the boss battle, when you have to save Azrael himself. When you have to save him from himself. And here, the truth is revealed. You finally learn about who you were really naming when you named the fallen human. You see Azrael and Chara, the first human, the fallen human, meet. And you finally really start to understand Azrael's character as he tearfully begs for you to give up and let him win, because he's not ready for all of this to end. He's not ready to let you go. He's not ready to give up. He doesn't want to say goodbye to the only person that he still has feeling left for. Because he can't feel for his mother anymore, he can't feel for his father anymore. All he had left was the ties to Chara, and he doesn't, and if he lets you win, then essentially he's letting Chara go, and he just can't let go. He can't let go of the past, he can't give up. And it's so tragic, and the music is so well done, and the ending is so heartbreaking and beautiful, that well and truly, the fight against Azrael Dreamer is not only one of the best boss battles I've ever fought, but the best boss battle of Undertale. Hands down, no comparison. It is just that good.